Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Joy Reid Show. Big up to the chats, everybody watching on YouTube. I see you out there putting the thumbs up. I see Lomena 5265 giving us the thumbs up. Big up to everybody on Twitch. We are getting close to 1,000 Twitchies. We love you guys. Big up to the stack. Big up to the folks on Facebook. Wherever you're watching, we just appreciate you. If you're listening on an audio platform, you can't see us, but somehow we can see you. And don't make me explain how that is. But we just appreciate everybody. Make sure before you leave here on this evening that you hit like and subscribe. Also hit share. Jason, I heard you clearing your throat. How are you? Good evening.
Oh, I'm doing well. I was just clearing my throat. I had my mic up, so that's why you heard me.
Oh, I thought you wanted to big up the folks.
Happy Monday, family. We got a great show lined up for you tonight, so let's get going.
There we go. And by the way, tonight we are going to, in the second hour, we're going to talk with Elliott Connie. If that name does not seem familiar to you, I will tell you he is the man who received an even more upgraded, cleaned up version of that audio of the boat, the distress call from the boat where Nolan Wells was supposedly left behind. We've got that audio plus the gentleman who got the audio in our second hour. But that is coming in hour 2. We're also going to celebrate Black August. We're going to explain to you what Black August is. And we're going to talk about it in hour 2. But let's start right now with New York City, Dateline New York City. So the mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, has been super busy. He's been announcing regulation reductions to make running a small business easier in the city. He's been going after bad landlords and billionaire multi-property owners who are making the rents too damn high. He announced the first round of 2K childcare options available to New York parents, including 500 home-based and center-based early childhood programs, meaning you can actually send your kid to daycare and be able to afford it, all that good stuff. He even delivered on his promise of opening city-owned grocery stores to keep the cost of food down. He's given interviews, including with Charles Blow, our good friend Charles Blow of The Root, on tackling the gentrification that is driving Black New Yorkers out of the city.
Talk about the affordability agenda, we talk about the cost of living crisis. Every New Yorker experiences it,
right?
But it is not evenly experienced.
Right.
And Black New Yorkers have borne the brunt of this crisis. For all of the conversation around fear of capital flight, there's a real flight that has happened. We've lost 200,000 Black New Yorkers from New York City over the last few decades alone. The population of Black children and teenagers down by 19% from 2010 to 2019. And that is a hollowing out of this city. So many of the most iconic Black neighborhoods now seem more iconic for the history than what the future could hold because of that fear of displacement. And to me, when you deliver on that agenda, you also deliver on the promise of Black history being something that can continue to be written in the city, not something just that we read about.
He even gave a keynote speech to commemorate International Nelson Mandela Day last month.
Dr. King said the night before he was killed, "Only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. Surely now it is dark enough. But surely together in this room we can see the stars. Those small pockets of light that are working people standing side by side to demand dignity. That are demonstrators marching through the heat and cold to call for an end to war, to suffering. That are those with hardly anything to their name, still opening their hands to extend what little they have to those with even less. Solidarity is not perfection. Solidarity is not purity. Solidarity is people choosing one another, sometimes even over themselves."
But ever since that mayor made this very straightforwardly accurate speech, you're going to hear a little bit right now.
Netanyahu is a war criminal, the architect of a horrific genocide against the Palestinian people. He is responsible for the killing of more than 73,000 people, for the maiming of tens of thousands of children as those who survive undergo amputation without anesthesia, for the targeting of neonatal hospitals and maternity care centers, denying newborns even the chance to live, for the countless people he starved as he blocked food and humanitarian aid from reaching them, for the gunning down of hundreds of aid workers and journalists. And just last month, the UN confirmed that Palestinian children continue to be deliberately targeted and killed by Israeli armed forces, more than 8 months after the so-called ceasefire. The list goes on and on, all as we, as Americans, pay for the bombs that do the killing. There is a reason the International Criminal Court issued a warrant for his arrest. As human beings, we have spent generations building a shared understanding that there are crimes so grave They offend all of humanity. Anyone with their eyes, with their heart, with their conscience should recognize the devastation he has wrought and understand that he belongs before a court of law.
Ever since he gave that speech, Republicans, the media, and even some Democrats have been just losing their minds. And at the bottom of the barrel, former New York Governor David Paterson, who was the state's historic first Black governor and the former chair of the state Democratic Party, called Zohran Mamdani the 20s answer to George Wallace, invoking the man who notoriously proclaimed segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever during his inauguration as governor of Alabama in January 1963, the same year Medgar Evers was assassinated, that June. Paterson claimed that the statement that you just heard about a foreign prime minister could incite anti-Jewish violence in New York City. Paterson said that he is co-writing a letter with Doug Hilken, former Brooklyn Assemblyman and founder of Americans Against Anti-Semitism, asking the U.S. Justice Department, meaning Donald Trump's former criminal lawyer Todd Blanche, who is the acting AG, or the head of his civil rights division, who to date is only guarding the civil rights of white conservative Christian men, asking that DOJ to investigate whether the mayor of New York City is violating federal laws. Here's some more of his quote. Quote, "It's taking those people on the edge and making them more likely to commit violence. It's giving fodder to anti-Semitic people." Taking people to the edge and giving fodder to anti-Semitic people by pointing out the fact that the International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant for the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, who has been adjudicated to have used starvation as a weapon against the people of Gaza, who is accused, credibly, by the government of South Africa of perpetrating apartheid. South Africa would know a lot about in the West Bank, where settler violence is so egregious, it's finally even catching the attention of US media, which has never cared that much about what was happening to Palestinians. But the thing is that what Mayor Mamdani said was neither racist nor segregationist. He didn't call for the segregation of Jewish people in New York City, nor did he express any hatred toward Jewish people in Israel or New York City or anywhere. He simply pointed out that the leader of Israel is a war criminal, which is a fact. And what he said is not even particularly unique as a position of the Democratic Party. It is common at this point to hear average Democrats say it, right? Bernie Sanders says much the same thing whenever he is asked to comment about the Israeli government and what Israel is doing in the territories. Common podcasters say this. But within the Democratic Party, again, this, Bernie Sanders obviously is an independent, but inside the Democratic Party, this is not an outrageously wild position. I want you to listen to Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen saying essentially the same thing.
Speak, we've not been able to get justice for American citizens killed by violent Israeli settlers or by the IDF on the West Bank. As I speak, Palestinians on the West Bank are under violent assault by Israeli terrorists who are terrorizing Palestinian villages, lighting mosques on fire, torching cars, pushing Palestinians off their lands, killing innocent Palestinians. Meanwhile, in Gaza, supposedly a ceasefire is in place. Have killed over 265 and injured hundreds more. Donald Trump meets with Bibi Netanyahu for the United States of America. Prime Minister Netanyahu convinced Donald Trump to launch an illegal war against Iran. 5 months. Prime Minister Netanyahu has warrant out for committing war crimes. He should be nowhere close to the Oval Office of the President of the United States.
Now, I have in fact not heard any criticisms saying essentially the exact same thing. There we are. So I'll just repeat again that I have not heard any similar outrage directed at Senator Chris Van Hollen, who is a Democrat, a very esteemed Democrat from the great state of Maryland, who said the same thing. And I have not heard the Democratic Party rise in outrage against the senator, nor have I heard Democrats rise in outrage against independent Bernie Sanders, who convenes with the Democrats on the Hill. He caucuses with them. I've not heard that same outrage directed at him for saying the same thing. It's only when Mayor Mamdani has said it that there are these powers of outrage coming from inside the Democratic Party, inside his own party. And it does raise the question of why that is. What is it about this mayor saying what the ICC has said publicly, saying what human rights groups like B'Tselem, who are based in Israel, have said, saying what Bernie Sanders has said, saying what Chris Van Hollen has said? But what is it about this mayor saying it that triggers so much apoplexy among Democrats, to the point where the former governor of New York, an historic figure in his own right, is preparing to take a case to the fascist Trump regime to ask that Department of Justice under Donald Trump and under his former criminal attorney to investigate the mayor of their own city. It just feels like something is really off kilter here. It feels like something is off when the Democratic Party, which is the party that ostensibly believes in all of the policies that Mayor Mamdani is implementing, making preschool free, seeing to it that rent is affordable, seeing to it that food is affordable, seeing to it that people can find childcare that they can afford. These are pretty fundamental Democratic values. And they feel like very FDR-esque Democratic values. And he is implementing things that I can only imagine Democrats have long wished that they could implement on both a local and a state level and a federal level. You know, these are policies that feel like they line up pretty well with what normal Democratic policy is and what it's been in the past. But there's something about Mayor Mamdani that triggers not just Donald Trump, who ratchets between calling him a communist and saying he's a great guy and he likes him. They're not just him and Stephen Miller and other people who have obvious deep Islamophobia, but even some Democrats seem especially triggered by him. And it is something that has been curious to me as the party watches this man, Mayor Mamdani, overperform as mayor, but also watching his ideological position become the standard ideological position of much of the Democratic base. So joining me now is Zohran Kwame Mamdani. He's the 112th mayor of New York City. He's the first Muslim and the first South Asian mayor of the city. I don't know if he's ready yet. Oh, he may not be there yet. We're going to wait for him to pop on. They're running a little bit behind. So we're going to bring him on in just a moment. And I really do want to ask him if they can sort of understand what it is about him that is so, answer is a sort of obvious negative one. Because we're talking now about not the Republicans, but actually the Democratic Party and what it is that animates them. It's a progressive policy. I'm not sure what it is. Growing up, I understood the Democratic Party to be the party that cares for women and children, cares about value system. Now they seem to be triggering to, at least on a national level, those same beliefs are by this mayor. So we wanted to ask him, about some other things as well. And so that is why we're declaring today we're going to do a bit of a Mamdani Monday back in his seat. We're going to make sure they're there in a moment. No, we're in another minute. I'm quite sure they've got a lot going on in New York City. But if you have questions, if you have things that you as well, please feel free to throw it in the chat. I know we are this is live is the thing that you do have to deal with. But yeah, we have a full internet coming in. So hopefully we'll and yes.
So sometimes these freezes happen whenever we have interesting conversations that happen because, it's ridiculous that you're okay. I'm assuming, but let's keep on going.
So yeah, the kind of challenge.
Still got about
and want to ask you more about your conversations with the your legal department about potentially arresting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. I just want to know just what your feelings are when you look at, for example, your administration also reaching out to the Prime Minister of, the Ambassador of Iran, just how you, reconcile the two of being so critical of the Israeli Prime Minister, but at the same time with the Ambassador of Iran.
So I want to first clear up a few things. Our administration did not reach out to the Prime Minister of Iran. Our administration received a request from the Iranian consulate, and as soon as I heard of that, I made it clear that we are not meeting and we will not meet with the Israeli consulate. And when it comes to Benjamin Netanyahu, thinking about someone who's the subject of an international criminal court arrest warrant. And he's the subject of this arrest warrant for alleged crimes against humanity, for war crimes, and he's the architect of the genocide against Palestinians in Gaza as Israel's prime minister. These are not facts of my personal assessment, they are facts of public record. And I believe that when someone is charged with an international criminal court warrant, it's something that should be taken seriously, whether it's Benjamin Netanyahu or it's Vladimir Putin or whomever else. What I've also made clear is that my administration will follow all applicable local laws. That is our commitment. That is something that we will follow through on. when it comes to an adherence to local law. And that's all I have to add on that.
Thank you. And now we're going to go to Heather from News 12.
Are you looking at arresting anybody else on that list of people who've committed international war crimes?
My point is that if someone is charged with a warrant by the International Criminal Court for these kinds of crimes, that's something I believe that should be honored. And I've also said that we will follow our local laws.
Thank you. Last question.
I just want to note that the mayor of New York City does not execute the arrest warrants of the ICC, nor did the mayor say that he was going to. But again, there is something apparently triggering about this specific mayor and this specific Democrat when he makes points that, again, we've heard the senator from Maryland make as well. And joining me now is the 112th mayor of the great city of New York, greatest city in the world, New York City, Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Welcome back, Mayor.
It is a pleasure to be on. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. We're having a little bit of rain, a little bit of, the rain is trying to mess with us. It doesn't want to let us be great, but Mother Nature is not going to stand in our way on tonight. So thank you so much.
I believe in you all.
Thank you very much. So let me ask you this question, because I took quite a bit of note of the former governor's comments about you and comparing you to a notorious segregationist in the 1960s, which seemed like a bit of an insane comment, but I wonder what you made of it.
Would you mind just referring exactly to which former governor and which comment? I have to be honest,
Absolutely.
I haven't been able to keep track of all of them.
I am certain. So the former Mr. Patterson, Governor Patterson, the former governor of New York, compared you to George Wallace and said that you are effectively the modern day George Wallace because you gave a statement, which was a factual statement about Benjamin Netanyahu being a war criminal.
I don't quite know how he landed at that conclusion. It is truly a hop, skip, and a jump to take what is an assessment of a war criminal and then be compared to one of the most infamous segregationists in American history. And I think, frankly, the conclusion that I have come to when it comes to looking at the violation of international human rights law is that we should have a law that actually premises humanity at the centrality of it, which is in many ways also a repudiation of what the vision was for segregation. We want to live in a country, we want to live in a world where a person, no matter their skin color, their nationality, their religion, is treated the same way. And I know that there are many New Yorkers who believe in the same thing.
Do you believe that you were treated the same way as other Democrats? I played Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, saying effectively what you said. There's been no apoplexy over him saying it. Bernie Sanders has said it. But when you say it, there seems to be something more to it, and not just from the media, from fellow Democrats. What do you put that down to?
It's hard to put my finger on it, but I will tell you that there are things that when I say them or when I do them, even if they have been said or they have been done, whether it's for weeks, months, years, or even decades, they are treated in a different manner. And, I think there's a lot that you can spend a lot of your time just moaning about how people respond to it. But to me, it's always an opportunity to defend the actual point in question. And I will always take that.
Do you put it down to Islamophobia?
I think that there are different factors at play. I'll leave it to people far smarter than me, including people like yourself, to come to those conclusions. But I do think that what New Yorkers want to see is someone who is focusing on the issues of that are really stripping them of their humanity in their own city, and that's exactly what we're looking to focus on in our city hall.
And there's the last question I will ask on this question. Have you ever had a sit down with Senator Chuck Schumer, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Hakeem Jeffries, Governor Hochul on these? Like, have you had a proper sit down with them? I know you have with Governor Hochul, but with the congressmen and the senators.
Yes, well, I would say when it comes to Governor Hochul, we have a close working relationship and really a partnership. We have been working together not only over the course of the election, but also over the course of our administration. On day 8, we announced $1.2 billion in state funding to make universal childcare for 2-year-olds a reality in the city. And that's in large part thanks to her commitment to this vision and her partnership in realizing the needs and the dreams that New Yorkers have for living in their own city. When it comes to Congressman Jeffries, I have sat down with the congressman on a number of occasions and consider him a partner as well in looking to deliver on this affordability agenda. And when it comes to Senator Schumer, the two of us have been in touch. And I know that when it comes to what it looks like to deliver for our city, it will require partnership in Washington. I often speak about the fact that Fiorello LaGuardia is the mayor I consider to have been the greatest in our city's history. And a lot of what made his achievements possible was his relationship with FDR. And I am forever hopeful of how to establish a similar working relationship, not only with our delegation, but also with an administration to deliver on the material needs of working New Yorkers.
Yeah, I mean, you might be the only Democrat in the country that can find a working relationship with Donald Trump, but we've talked about that before, so we can skip that one for now. So, and the unique thing about the mayoralty of New York City is that it is both a local office, a local elected office, but it is in many ways a national office, because that is where the United Nations is. And it is one of the reasons why it made sense for you to make a comment about Prime Minister Netanyahu. Now, he has said that he is going to visit the UN during the General Assembly in September. How are you preparing for that? How is the city preparing for it? What do you expect? And what's the security arrangement? I mean, how do you think New Yorkers are going to receive him?
Well, I think that we are preparing for this UN General Assembly in the manner that we prepare every year. And what that looks like is the NYPD working in close coordination with the State Department and the Secret Service on providing protection for foreign dignitaries, as well as assessing what those threat levels are for any one of those dignitaries. And what we are also preparing for is how to ensure that this is a period of time with the least amount of disruption to New Yorkers' lives, because while many focus on the events of the UN General Assembly from a political lens, I will also tell you that many New Yorkers understand it more in the language of what it means for traffic and their ability to get in and around New York City. And we're always looking to ensure that this is a city where no matter if your focus is on the politics of it or your focus is just on getting to work, that it's still one that's delivering for you.
Yeah, I mean, and New York, of course, also is where the biggest of the 9/11 anniversaries and commemorations take place. And again, there's been vitriol directed at you there. There's a particular Wall Street Journal piece that I found really shocking. It was in their digital entry that, I can't believe that this is the way people feel free to talk about the mayor of New York City, but this is where we are, showing you as if you are a member of Hamas in a visual. Have you been getting that kind of vitriol about your presiding over this 9/11 anniversary?
Well, I think first and foremost, when we're speaking about the horrific terror attack that was 9/11, I look forward to gathering with families of those who were killed, first responders, survivors of one of the darkest days in our nation's history, for the 25th anniversary this September, just as I was there last year. And I will be there because as the mayor of our city, it is a responsibility to stand together with other New Yorkers as we commemorate one of the most solemn days that we have ever had to endure in this city. And we know that for many, the pain and the tragedy will only be amplified on a 25th anniversary in their memories of their loved ones that were taken from them. And we look forward to being there alongside so many New Yorkers as we commemorate the sacrifices that so many New Yorkers endured in that day.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's a New Yorker will never forget that day. I don't think any American will ever forget it. So while there is a lot of sort of strangeness towards you, I'll try to be charitable and say a sort of a strange. Democrats are mimicking your rhetoric. I mean, I don't think I have heard a speech given by a Democrat or a statement without the word affordability in it. And they seem to be mimicking your rhetoric, seem to be trying to mimic your policies. Do you believe that despite all of the storm and drang about you, for whatever reason, that the party is moving in your direction? Do you feel the party writ large becoming more progressive?
Well, I am hopeful in seeing the recent results that we've seen here across New York City and also across the country, that the party is moving in the direction of the voters, because that's what we need to reflect. We need to reflect their concerns, their aspirations, their hopes, because for a long time, it feels like the party has more to say about what a consultant will draw up in a back room than what an actual working class person is looking for in that politics. And, earlier I was speaking to you about LaGuardia and FDR. Those were the days when we looked at the Democratic Party and we understood what it stood for. We understood who it was fighting for. And we know that in this country, there is only one majority. It's the working class. And so much of what we're focused on in New York City, it's not actually particular to New York City. And what I mean by that is, as special as we are as New Yorkers, we know that the struggle to afford your rent, your childcare, your groceries, even your public transportation, that's a struggle that Americans are feeling across the country. And the more that we as a party can not only reflect that struggle in our focus, but also look to address those issues, I think the better we will be as a party and the more faithful we will also be to why so many Americans joined this party in the first place.
Before you came on, we ticked through some of the successes that you've been touting, including not taking a salary increase, which I think is great, to leave more money for the administration of the city, the access to preschool, including home-based daycare, some of the things that you're doing. For you, as an exit question, which of your policies are most translatable on a national level? Because people outside of New York are like looking at New York with envy, like, we want these things. Which of these things do you think are actually translatable outside of New York City?
I would say the vast majority, if not all of them, frankly, because we are talking about a cost of living crisis that, while it is truest here in the most expensive city in the United States of America, it is a reality for Americans, no matter what city or what state they call home. When we're talking about childcare, we're saving families in this city $20,000 a child when they enrolled their child into free 2K, which is what we're rolling out this fall with 2,000 seats. Next year, 12,000 seats. End of 4 years in office will be for every single 2-year-old in this city. When we're talking about a city-run grocery store, one in each borough, which, by the way, you do not need an ID to shop at, no matter what you've just heard in the news of today. We're talking about actually addressing the question of skyrocketing grocery prices. We've seen in the last 6 or 7 years alone an increase in grocery prices of around 30%. And we are going to be delivering a city-run grocery store, one in each borough, 5 in total, that will have the staples of a shopping experience, an essential basket of goods that are discounted by 30% compared to typical retail prices. And that is something that New Yorkers will be able to feel in their pocket. They'll be able to save hundreds of dollars on an annual basis, knowing that the city is looking to actually deliver for them on something that is a non-negotiable in their life, which is healthy and accessible food.
Before I let you go, I am going to sneak one more question in, because Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said effectively that those who criticize Israel will not be able to get their visas approved to come into the country. That will impact Columbia University, universities across New York City, where we've already seen a lot of really alarming arrests, detainment of people based on op-eds, based on their beliefs. Are you concerned, or how free do you believe that students at places like Columbia University will be under this current administration if they, like you, have criticisms of Israel?
I think what we've seen is this administration's policies time and time again show that it has little respect for what should be constitutionally protected acts of free speech. And we know that students have so often been on the right side of history when it comes to speaking up in opposition to any aspect of inhumanity that they have seen, no matter where it is across the world. And to respond to that kind of dissent with an attempt to criminalize it speaks to an inability to defend the actual conduct for which that dissent is targeted at.
Mayor Zohran Mamdani, thank you. I always like to give the full name because Kwame is your middle name. Zohran Kwame Mamdani, thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
It's a real pleasure to be on. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. And joining us now to respond to this interview with Mayor Mamdani are two of our favorite journalists, Rula Jebreal and Peter Beinart. Thank you both for being here. And I want to start with you, Rula, because I think that as a Black person, as a Black woman, the comments by the former and historic first African-American governor of New York comparing the current mayor to George Wallace struck me as bizarre, deeply offensive. I think he had a very deft answer to it. But what do you make of it?
I mean, good evening, Joy. So good to be with you. And I'm so happy and honored to be also with my dear friend, Peter Beinart, who's been so brave on these issues. Just if I may start saying, I'm really upset, actually. I'm so angry with Mira Nair, the mother of Zohran Mamdani, because she didn't give birth to him in this country. She decided to give birth to him somewhere else. And
I'm with you.
From all of us, this chance, because when I listen to this guy, I see a generational talent. He reminds me of Obama in 2008. He reminds me of why millions of people around the world, if not billions, are passionate about politics, about human rights, about dignity, and what politics needs to be about, which is put at the center of everything, what people need. If I may say, in response to your question, Joy, is basically what happened with this mayor, the former mayor, is, what we see that politicians are bought and paid.
Oh, the former governor.
Lobbyists. Apologies. And when I see whether it's the former governor or the former mayor of New York City, we can see the kind of politics that is being on display that is in opposition to what happened in the last 3-4 years. We're seeing that people are so disgusted by the fact, and that's why we can see two visions for America: an America that is a corporate America, that is pro-lobbyist, that is willing to turn its back on the people, on their needs, but also on human rights, international law, etc. And a vision of Zohran Mamdani that he is leading that, vision together with others, obviously, who are centering at the center of our lives, our politics, but also our survival of democracy worldwide, is basically not only international law, but also basic human rights and dignity and freedom. And these are the two visions that we have today. One is authoritarianism, fascism, if I may say, whether it's, the access of Ben Gvir, Netanyahu, Donald Trump, and all of their proxies, including the Democratic Party, and the other side, all of us, 75% of Americans in the world.
Yeah, it is, Peter, a strange time. It's a time to be alive, right? When not just the Republican Party has this apoplectic, over-the-top reaction to this mayor, but Democrats do. I mean, Patterson is himself an historic figure and had family, that has worked in the civil rights world, even though he's from Long Island, he's from the North. But it just struck me as such a tone-deaf, weird thing for a Democrat to say. And I haven't heard a single Democrat rise up to defend him. I have not seen national Democrats, say anything. Whereas if a fellow Democratic mayor had been insulted in that way, Democrats would have gone ballistic.
Right. I mean, in a way, what Mamdani is saying is actually something that a lot of other politicians and a lot of commentators in the media are almost like, it shuts down their system to hear him say these things, because the things that he's saying are things that are so radically different than what we've been used to hearing, right? We have this whole discourse when it comes to Israel, which is with a lot of kind of catchphrases that people and politicians learn how to repeat again and again: right to self-defense, right to exist, all of these things, right? And Mamdani comes along and he says some things that are actually pretty simple. He says, basically, I think all states should treat everybody equally, irrespective of their religion, their race, or their ethnicity. And when, you would think that David Patterson or other people, when it would come to the United States or almost any other country, they would say, of course, that's absolutely what we believe. But in a way, because it's so unusual to hear an American politician actually simply apply that same basic principle, equality under the law, supposedly what the Democratic Party believes in when it comes to the United States, to Israel-Palestine, you have these super weird reactions in which people contort themselves to suggest this is actually hate speech, this is bigotry, right? It's the opposite of bigotry, right? He's not saying that Israeli Jews shouldn't be able to live in Israel, Palestine. He's not saying they should be kicked out. Far from it. He's simply saying they should live under the same law as their neighbors. But that common sense approach is considered so radical that it's deemed offensive when applied to Israel and Palestine.
But to say with you for a moment, Peter, I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
It's as a Palestinian, it's because we've been so dehumanized in Israel, and we are so dehumanized in the United States of America. This is the country that fought literally against slavery, against Jim Crow, that lectured the world about whether, before Trump, let's be clear, we don't lecture the world anymore, about human rights, dignity, inclusion, diversity, all of these issues. But when it comes to Palestinians, their view of the overwhelming majority of the establishment, I'm not talking about the public opinion, is no different than Ben Gvir. We are subhuman animals in the eyes of a lot of the people in the media, but a lot of people of established Republicans and Democrats. When Huckabee talks about Palestinians, when other established Democrats talk about Palestinians, I don't see a lot of difference. Maybe he used religious terms, but for them, the fact that my family and I and people who come from, my community deserve equality and human rights is an anathema. It's so outrageous that it just the same idea that Israeli have, that our equality or freedom for Palestinians is a national security threat. And this is how they frame the whole notion. And that's why when Mamdani comes along, when people like Peter or you, Joy, or me come along and say these things, I think there's a shock in the nervous system, but also in the propaganda and indoctrination mantra and they need to reassess the fact that we reach a moment where today, as of today, ministers in Israel are boasting and bragging about committing war crimes, including against women and children.
It is shocking, and I'm going to do, because there are two things you said, Rula, but I want to like sort of break them up into two bits. So the first part is, as you said, the way that the Palestinian people are treated as if they are just nothing but a national security threat, but also the way Israel is treated, Peter, as if it is incapable of in any way being anything other than our protectee. I want you to listen to Secretary of State Marco Rubio. I did ask Mayor Mamdani about this. He said that despite this, what you're going to hear, the goal of New York City is to keep students safe and free to use their First Amendment rights. But I want you to listen to Secretary of State Marco Rubio. This is B2.
Under President Trump, the United States will stand with the Jewish people. We have implemented a vigorous new visa policy that will prevent foreign nationals from coming to the United States to foment hatred against our Jewish community. We are holding international organizations and nations accountable for rhetoric against Israel that resurfaces in the manifesto of monsters like Iran and Sarah's killer. But we do see an eventual light at the end of this long tunnel of suffering. One can imagine a Middle East in which the Abraham Accords eventually reign. So thank you for the opportunity to address you.
And I will say, Jason, if you can pull up B4, because Donald Trump doesn't even pretend that the attacks on the International Criminal Court, which they are attempting, he's talking about the International Criminal Court vaguely in that video, but also saying that they won't even let students come in the country if they've said anything or written anything that is adverse to Israel. That just seems strange as American policy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's this attempt to shield Israel from criticism has become a very, very grave threat to academic freedom and freedom of speech in the United States. It was even before Trump. It's become much worse now. But it's also just worth interrogating the logic, the insane logic of what Marco Rubio said, right? Marco Rubio said, we're not going to let people come in who espouse hate towards the Jewish people, right? He's talking about foreign students who come in and want to write critically or protest US policy or their university's policy towards Israel, right? Now, Marco Rubio is Cuban American, right? And he hates the government of Cuba. Now, I think some of the things he does are, in terms of the way he acts out that hatred can often be really vile in terms of the sanctions that shut down hospitals. But let's just take the point that he has a human rights criticism of the Cuban government. Imagine if someone comes along and says, we're not going to allow any people to pursue the anti-Cuban hate policy of criticizing the government of Cuba. That would be an insane thing. Marco Rubio would be the first to say, Cuban people are one thing. The Cuban state is another thing. Don't conflate these two things. And yet he does exactly the same thing, even though I know Rula knows this, everyone who spent significant amount of time at these universities over the past 3 years will tell you that at many, many universities, Jewish students are overrepresented in these pro-Palestinian protests. So how exactly does it make sense to say that you're protecting Jewish people by basically saying people can't criticize genocide on a college campus?
Yeah, and also, well, let me play really quickly. This is B4, Jason. This is Donald Trump admitting that even the attacks on the ICC are not even really about himself. They're just about protecting specifically Bibi Netanyahu.
Arrogant. We've now begun an effort to really try to bring that court to heel.
By the way, there's no information that they're after me. It could happen. She's talking about it. I'm saying that means that maybe he's not. He is trying to defend Bibi and various other people. Yeah. But there are many people that shouldn't be looked at that way. But there is no indication that I'm one of them at this moment.
The yet is implied, Rula, and the two men sitting on the either sides of him, you saw Hegseth didn't even want to look up because he's like, I'm probably going to be on the list very soon.
Yeah, he became notorious for defending war criminals and trying to lobby for, pardons for war criminals. And that's why he is now, the head of the Minister of Defense or Minister of War, whatever we want to call him. But going to the ICC and to the ICJ, International Criminal Court, International Court of Justice, the United States literally post-World War II, especially the International Court of Justice, contribute. These institutions are the legacy that came out of Nuremberg trials and the judicial architectures that came out as a lesson after the Holocaust in Europe, perpetrated by Europeans against European Jews. So if your contribution to humanity as the United States is giving these amazing institutions, treaties, and others to the world to keep all of us safe, to prevent the atrocity of the past from, being perpetrated again and again, then the United States is dismantling one of its arms that is not only for security and protection, but it's an arm of its power and soft power and brand in the world. Their branding was not only Coca-Cola and Tesla. The branding of the United States was also their soft power in terms of exercising a world leadership in the world to say, we stand against atrocities and against crimes, whether it's perpetrated in Rwanda, in Bosnia, in wherever it's perpetrated. It was convenient when Putin was an indicted war criminal. But for me, this is the beginning. I remember very well when Karim Khan, the ICC prosecutor that is now dismissed, said that 12 senators sent him a letter. One of them was actually Marco Rubio, threatening him. You go after Israel, we'll go after you. He received phone calls threatening him and his family. Fatih bin Suta, the former prosecutor herself, was threatened by an Israeli Mossad chief, who was Yossi Cohen. Again, the United States with Israel now is acting like Al Capone, like a mafia state, like a mafia organization that is going after judges, prosecutors. I mean, we live in a world that the United States need to declare it's not a democracy anymore. These are tactics of totalitarian state, and this is what's happening. And just to finish on one note, if you are endorsing and sponsoring and aiding and abetting genocide overseas, guess what? You're fueling or fomenting fascism at home. This is what fascism looked like. It starts with the Palestinians, but we were only the first victims. It's coming back home.
Yeah, I'm not only coming back home, but Peter, also accelerating, right? I mean, the Gaza genocide was horrific enough, but now it is spread to South Lebanon, and it is also spread to the occupied West Bank and to Arab East Jerusalem. Like, it's getting worse. I want to play you guys for you guys a little clip of some independent journalism from a journalist named Andrei Kurzanovsky, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Kurzanovsky, Andrei, he calls himself Andrei X Kurzanovsky on social media. And if you could play that, Jason, this is B3.
Ethnic cleansing becomes genocide because something happened in the West Bank today, and we might be witnessing this process right now, today, in the West Bank. This afternoon, Israeli psychotherapist launched an attack on the village of Tel in the West Bank. During the attack, Sheikh Farouk Ramadan, one of the residents of the village, managed to overpower one of the attackers. He grabbed his weapon and shot and killed two of the settler terrorists. In response, the Israeli army, who were standing by and watching the settlers attack the Palestinians, massacred 4 of the residents of the village, including Farouk himself. The Israeli government and media quickly jumped on this, framing the victims of the attack as terrorists. And the settlers and the army immediately launched a wave of pogroms across the West Bank. Another Palestinian man was killed near Kalkilia. Settlers set fires to cars and houses in Sarra, and the IDF raided a hospital in Nablus, kidnapping several Palestinians from there. But this is just the beginning. Israeli politicians, including the so-called left opposition, are setting up conditions for a massive wave of settler attacks and army raids across the West Bank, perhaps on a scale that we have never seen before. They fully intend on turning the West Bank into Gaza, and only international pressure can stop them. So now, more than ever, all eyes on the West Bank.
Peter, it is the ultimate irony that, as Rula said, the whole infrastructure of the international criminal court system, the Nuremberg trials, was because of Germans mass murdering European Jews. And then the people who were refugees from there into Palestine, their descendants are now attempting a pogrom to take away, to take all of the West Bank from the Palestinian people who are from there, who've been there for generations. It is the ultimate irony that now the United States is in a position of saying that if you criticize what we just saw on screen, if you criticize the land theft, the blatant land theft, this isn't about Hamas, this is in the West Bank, then you are effectively supporting terrorism. The people who tried to save their farms are terrorists. The people who tried to hold off the settlers are terrorists. But we can't say that what the settlers are doing is terrorism. I feel like we live in the upside down.
Oh, absolutely. And this is, what we see now among some media commentators, even some pro-Israel media commentators, is this move where they say, yes, the settlers are bad, or some of the radical settlers are bad, but they're completely separate from the Israeli government, right? It's a little bit like saying, in the Jim Crow South, the Ku Klux Klan is bad, right? But they have nothing to do with the government, with the state government in Alabama or Mississippi, right? These two things are very deeply integrated. The settlers could not operate in any way without the backing of the Israeli state. It's only the Israeli state that allows them to act. And although they do it in a kind of cruder way, the basic push towards trying to take as much land as possible. So you have as much land as possible with as few Palestinians on it as possible. And you push Palestinians into smaller and smaller and smaller enclaves, with the message being, you know what, you have no future here. You need to go somewhere else. This is not, in some ways, the same story that we saw in the United States in the 19th century. This is what was done to Native Americans. It doesn't happen overnight, but this, unless there are forces around the world that are willing to stand up for this and say, we're not going to give you the weapons to do this, we're not going to give you diplomatic protection so that every soldier who's involved in this and every government minister has to worry about international legal consequences, this process will continue. This process of ethnic cleansing, which ultimately has as its aim, while only Ben-Gvir and Smotrich will say it out loud, other people won't say it out loud, but its aim is the destruction of the Palestinian people.
Right. And thank you for saying that, because I was just going to go there about the indigenous. This is how the West was won, right? This is how America was settled. And I think that we never like to say that. It's sort of impolite. But this is actually just us seeing with cameras the way it would have looked for the Nez Perce and the Sioux. This is how it would have looked if we had cameras back then and we wanted to see how they were dispossessed of their land. It was violently, and it looked just like this.
Yes, and if I can just add, this is why it's so problematic when people say that talking about what America did to Native Americans is woke, right? That we can't do that, that it's shameful, because it's precisely because Americans, particularly white Americans, have not been willing to actually have a frank conversation about what we did to Native Americans, that we don't recognize it when it's happening in Israel-Palestine. If we were more honest about our settler colonial past, I think that would have an impact in the way we respond in Israel-Palestine.
Yeah, indeed. And it was the same thing. Europeans coming to the Americas and saying, God gave us this land.
Yes.
Same thing that happened in South Africa. Europeans going to South Africa and saying, God gave it. This is what it looks like, folks. This is what it looks like. And Rula, this brings me back to Mamdani, because the irony of the former African-American governor of New York calling him Governor Wallace is that Governor Wallace was to the Klan as Bibi Netanyahu is to the settlers. They do the dirty work and the ugly work, but he's on top of the game. He is running the show. The person who is like Governor Wallace is Bibi Netanyahu. That, to me, is the great irony.
It's not irony, Joy. It's indoctrination. It's propaganda. But also, just to be clear, and I want to talk about my Afro-Palestinian community. Any African-American that defend the genocide, the Israeli genocide, the ethnic cleansing, I just want to remind you, if you would live there, including being a Black Jew, I want to remind you that in the 90s, Israel sterilized Jewish Ethiopian women. In the 90s, that was not in the 900s, in the early 90s until 1993, sterilized deliberately as a state policy, Black Ethiopian Jewish women, because they did not want a Jewish Black babies, okay? This is the ideology. Zionism is a derivative directly to the white supremacist ideology. And when we talk about the West Bank, today, as we speak, today, literally today, a woman that was 9 months pregnant, she had problem with a baby. She had to go to take basically an ambulance. We have videos from the ambulance being transported to a hospital that was basically 5 kilometers from her home. A police and an Israeli soldier at the checkpoint, incited by the settlers, stopped the ambulance. She had to give birth in the ambulance, and the doctor in the ambulance had to decide whether to save the baby and to save the mother. The baby did not make it because they stopped her for too many hours. And this is what happened. This is military dictatorship. So when we talk about equality, when Mamdani talks about equality, and the other side is defending the genocide, defending the military dictatorship, defending basically sending billions of dollars of US tax dollars to enforce the most brutal system in the 21st century that is claiming the lives of 23,000 babies, children in Gaza, thousands of babies in Lebanon and in Palestine. You talk about the sanctity of life. You really care about human rights and dignity, but basic rights, just the right to live, is that denied to Palestinians? So I wonder with these, when Hakeem Jeffrey, who his name's Hakeem, who happened to, his first name is an Arabic name actually, and he looks like my cousin, and he goes there and defend these atrocities because he wants a financing for IPAC. In the eyes of billions of people around the world, you're actually transmitting an image that is very similar to that of, I'm sorry to say this, that is of Trump. Trump might be crude about it, but Hakeem Jeffrey with his policies, if continue to enabling behind the scene these kind of atrocities, is no different than the Republicans. That's why the base is outraged. That's why people around the world, they don't look anymore at America as the solution, but they look at America as the enabler, number one complicit enablers of the genocide in Palestine.
And last word to you, indeed, Rula, and last word to you on this, Peter. And then people like Governor Patterson and some, unfortunately, in the Democratic Party take the horrors that Rula just described and say they are ascribed to every single Jewish person in New York City. And that if you criticize them, you are literally endangering Jewish people thousands of miles away from that horror in New York City. It is as if to say that the Klan and the things they did are transposed onto every white Christian. And if you criticize the Klan, you hate white Christians.
Right. I mean, what we need to say clearly is that Israel is a state. And although it speaks in the name of Jews, Jews have very widely varying opinions. In fact, the American Jews are in some ways in the midst of our own kind of civil war on this question. I mean, I can't tell you how many Jewish families I know where people can't even discuss this issue without screaming at each other because the feelings are so divided. There's a new poll showing that a majority of American Jews under the age of 35 don't support the idea of a Jewish state at all, not just Netanyahu. They support the idea of an equal binational state. So to equate Israel with Jews is actually to endanger Jews. It would be like saying all Chinese people equal the People's Republic of China, and whatever the People's Republic of China does that you don't like, take that out on Chinese Americans. That's an insane position to take, right? And yet the leadership of much of the organized American Jewish community continues to make exactly this conflation. This is actually a conflation that makes Jewish people less safe. What we need to say is that whether you like Israel or you don't like Israel, that Jews are not, that you can't take out your hostility towards Jewish people. And that conceptual distinction is not one that leaders of the organized American Jewish community are willing to make.
And guess who makes that distinction every time he discusses this issue? That would be the mayor of New York City,
Exactly.
Mayor
Exactly.
Zohran Mamdani. And I too, Rula, am very mad at his brilliant mom for being overseas when he was born, because I would love to see him on a presidential ticket. Rula Jebreal, Peter Beinart, two of my favorite people, not just to talk to, but period. Two of my favorite people. Thank you so much. I appreciate you both.
Thank you, Joy. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Thank you. We love it having those two on because they're so smart, they're so passionate, they're so brilliant. So thank you to Peter and to Rula. And listen, our the ad sponsor that is sponsoring this hour of the Joy Reid Show is actually very appropriate. It is this. I'm going to show you the book. This is it. It is called Bullies, Parasites, and Slaves. It really does seem to be quite apropos. And this is a book by Dr. George Byron Koch. Now, look, does anybody even read books anymore? Actually, yes. Bullies, Parasites, and Slaves is one that you should pick up if you have not done so yet. And you should do it And you can also get it for free if you need it to be. And look, the reality is your CEO makes more before lunch than you make in a year. Politicians benefit themselves rather than those they serve. On what planet is that okay? On what planet is that even logical? This book exposes it all. It exposes how you are ruthlessly being underpaid. You're being punished if you object, how your hard work subsidizes all of those quote unquote above you. George Koch reveals the stories, the true history, and the actual facts so that you can help others see them too. And he shows us the way out. You can meet each other's needs. You can be the ones that we are waiting for, where all of our needs are met. It's a logical book. It's also a book based on the golden rule of mutual care. You can get it in paperback, digital, or audio. And you can get this book, this is the paperback, which is easy to carry around if you want to throw it in your bag and take it with you. Bullies, Parasites, and Slaves, Replacing Exploitation with Mutual Care is the full title. You can get it today online or at your local bookstore, or you can go to bps.online, particularly if you need to get it for free, because he wants to make sure that you can have a chance to read it. You can also text CARE, C-A-R-E, to 511-511. And again, it is free if you need it to be. The Joy Reid Show is also brought to you by one of our favorites, when I can get one. Brought to you by our friends at Mosh. I just want to show you, just so that you guys don't think that I'm making this up. This is my Mosh box. I'm going to open it up. You see how many Mosh bars are in here? You see that? Where'd the rest of them go? I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway, because it is brought to you by Mosh. We do love Mosh, as apparently people love it a whole lot more, because I can't ever get any. But the wonderful thing about Mosh is that it is not just good food and delicious and stealable, apparently. It's also good for the cause. After Maria Shriver's father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, she and her son, Patrick, set out to create something that's bigger than just a protein bar. So Mosh bars are made with ingredients that actually support your brain as well as your body. And it is sort of like food brain food, right? It's actually boosted by something called Cognizin, K-O-C-O-G-N-I-Z-I-N, Cognizin, which is a premium form of something called citrulline, Google it, that helps support focus, memory, and mental clarity. They also taste great, 9 delicious flavors, including plant-based options for Jackie Reid and the other vegans. They have chocolate chip cookie, hazelnut chocolate chip, peanut butter chocolate chip. You can also now save on Mosh while making your wellness routine effortless. Get 25% off plus free shipping on your first 15-count variety kit pack. Then hide half of them somewhere in your room where your family can't get them. You can also get 20% off for life on your monthly subscription. You can swap flavors anytime based on what you like best. Keep your go-tos on repeat. Try something new. And again, hide the ones you like the best from your kids, from your family, from your friends, or from your coworkers, because they'll eat them all. Your favorite functional fuel is delivered directly to your door, so you never have to run out. Supporting your brain health becomes as simple as ABC 1, 2, 3, and you can feel good about it. And again, Mosh is the good guys. They donate a portion of the proceeds from every single order to the women's Alzheimer's movement, because 2/3 of Alzheimer's patients happen to be women, and Mosh is working to close the gap. It's more than just a protein bar. It's brain fuel with a purpose. Again, make sure you hide it so that you can get yours. Find your favorites, build your box, or bring fresh things to your door with a variety pack. Mosh bars are the best way to customize your health while giving back. Head to moshlife.com/read and subscribe today to get 25% off your first variety pack and 20% off your monthly subscription with code REID. That's 25% off your first pack and 20% off your subscription of brain boosting bars delivered straight to your door. Start building brain health into your everyday with Mosh bars. Thank you, Mosh, for sponsoring this episode. We also love that they sponsor.
You know, I really got a feeling as you're the one who basically just walks around here at night. You probably sleepwalk and not realize you're doing it. And then you pick up maybe 1 or 2 of those bars and then you stick it in your mouth and you eat it. And then you wake up the next day like, who in the world ate my Mosh bars?
Put back up the comment. Wanji, put back up that previous comment, because that comment, I think, told the truth. Because you know what? You said that, okay, Jason got really quiet when we started talking about the bars.
Hey, listen, Jason,
Thank you, Ebony Noel.
Jason cannot talk. Excuse me, Ebony. Jason can't talk during the ad. They are paying for it. So that's why Jason waited. Said after the ad was done to say, you know, Joy seems very happy and content right now because she probably ate like 3 of them before she started.
I would love to eat 3 of them. I could eat 3 if I could get 3.
Well, if you better stop sleepwalking and eating your food, then you wake up in the morning, you got crumbs over your face, you got the wrappers beside you.
I'm insomniac. Once I fall asleep, I'm asleep. I gotta say, hide your bars, hide your wife. Hide your bars, hide your wife, hide your, because they eating up all the Mosh bars.
Bye.
Greedy. They be eating all my stuff. Yes, and you tried it, Jason. Thank you. Hide and seek Denise. Hide and seek Denise. Hide and seek Denise knows what you're doing. Hide and seek Denise done seen you for who you really are. You tried it, Jason. That's what I'm talking about. Hide and seek Denise. We know what's happening. And they said eating them after a THC drink. With my willies, you told me
now
I'm
there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
you drink some of that, Willie's tea. Then you get a little bit, get a little bit of munchies, and then you start scratching your stomach, and you're like, I feel kind of hungry. And then you're
describing yourself. See,
no.
Again. The descriptiveness is how I know you did it.
No,
because
see, the thing is, I watch you.
Thank you. Deflection.
I watch how you move.
Deflection.
And then you do one of those sneaky things. You walk and you grab one and you go into your office like nobody's seeing you. But
my office has a glass door. If I was eating them, y'all would see me. You could see me. It's a crumb.
I'm about to go in your office after the show and dig up the garbage can, take pictures just so I can prove this crew. And to everybody out there watching, that Joy Reid is the Marsh Monster.
Michael, go search him. Michael's in the room.
This is Michael, everybody. And Michael's got my back, and Michael's going to say it ain't him.
Search him.
Now,
matter of fact, Poppy here too. Search him for his pockets. Go in his pockets, y'all.
Let's get on to the hour 2, Miss Reid. Bye.
Go in his pockets. Welcome to hour 2 of the Joy Reid Show, where I'm hungry, and I wouldn't be hungry if I could eat a Mosh bar, but I can't if they eat them all from me. Welcome to hour 2 of the Joy Reid Show. Hit like and subscribe if you want to help us to increase our algorithmic power, but also that will help us get more ads so that we can afford to buy more Mosh bars for Jason to eat. We need our Mosh bar budget to be a little bigger because apparently we need to buy extra so I can have some. I can sit and read my Bullies, Parasites, and Slaves and eat a Mosh bar, after I have my Z-Biotic, have a security. Our lifestyle is sort of complete. We love it. Make sure that you also hit like, subscribe, and share, but also hit the little, y'all see I'm having a hot flash, right? Do you see it? Can you actually see when I'm having a hot flash? Good Lord.
Would you like me to turn the fan on in that room, Miss
Yes,
Hadi?
Turn the fan on. Y'all going to hear a little fan in the back because, baby, I'm having a hot flash. I keep it real. I keeps it real. Make sure you hit the notification button, which is the cute little bell. You can also hit all to make sure that you know when we are going live. Let's get into a couple of news items of the day. So Donald Trump is trying to force through his nominee to lead the Injustice Department. That would be Todd Blanche, who's the interim AG. So he's running it now, but as an interim. And the reason what's holding it up is that you have 2 senators, as we said last week, Cornyn and my guy from North Carolina, who are saying we're not going to go for it. We're not going to put him through unless you can make sure that this 1776 fund is gone. Tom Tillis, of course, and we've been asking you guys to call Tom Tillis and call Cornyn and tell him to hold the line. But Donald Trump was actually asked about this fund, but also the sweet tax deal in which he and his family would never be audited. They would be free from audits, but your regular American people like you could be audited, but not him, and he would have his slush fund. Here it is, Jason, please play C1.
On Todd Blanche rescinding the anti-weaponization fund. And also there are Democrats right now who say there's essentially 2 tax codes. There's the Trump family tax code and a normal people tax code. Why do you think that your family deserves some level of special exemption when it comes to the auditing of taxes?
Well, I'll go into that. First of all, I had a 10-year case that was settled until I announced I was running for office. It was a settled deal like I've been doing all my life. I've been audited every year for my entire life, which I have a lot of wealthy friends. They were never audited. To this day, they were never audited. I was audited. And my deal was settled. In writing, it was settled, subject to final approval. Then I announced I was running for president, and all they did was haunt me with it. They ended the settlement, and they went after me illegally. And they did a lot of bad things to me like they did to other people. And I was treated very unfairly by the IRS. It was weaponized against me. Think of it. I had a case this is a 10-year-old case. And It was settled. It was done. The case was over. I announced I'm running for president, and they terminated the settlement in Washington, and they went after me. And what they did here was very, frankly, if you talk about reparations or if you talk about payment, what they did to me, I had a very good case against them. So this was a case that was settled, that when I decided to run for president, right at the beginning, this is a long time, it's been going on for a long time, they terminated the settlement, which is something that never happened before. We have letters from the biggest law firms in Washington saying that this case is nonsense, just like the Russia was nonsense, and weaponized government.
Oh, Lord.
And
that's enough.
So,
okay. Yeah, just quiet, Piggy. Quiet, Piggy. And so the idea here is that Todd Blanche is supposed to, in writing, rescind this fund so that the two senators, Cornyn and Tillis, can get it in writing that he's not going to bring it back. But why would anybody trust anything in writing from Todd Blanche? Why would anyone trust anything Todd Blanche was to say? Todd Blanche attempted to, under his Justice Department, prosecute a former Olympic rower lying about him, along with Jeanine Pirro, the box wine lady that's now running the state attorney's office in D.C., lying about this man and trying to throw him in prison, saying that he cut a 350-foot gash in the reflecting pool that was damaged because Trump took a convoy through it before the flooring had cured. They were going to try to put a whole human in prison for that. That's under Todd Blanche. Please play C2. This is the one of the legal organizations that helped get this man free from these charges, responding to that.
We come to as a country where under Todd Blanche, Jean Pirro, and Donald Trump, innocent people like Davy Hearn can be targeted. Of course, it's not just him. We've seen a stream of others. We've worked on those cases at Democracy Defenders. Any American and every American should be concerned when you have an executive branch that behaves this way.
Right. I mean, they are literally inventing things to prosecute people for based on Donald Trump's emotions and feelings. People are now calling for Jeanine Pirro's law license because of this. And we're supposed to trust that if he writes down that they're getting rid of the 1776 fund. And did you hear Donald Trump talk about reparations? Wait a minute. If anybody black says the word reparations, the whole right has a meltdown. And this will be reparations for 400 years of slavery. But Donald Trump and his family and his goon squad from January 6th should get reparations because they sacked the Capitol and took dumps on the floor like animals and tried to hang Mike Pence and lynch Nancy Pelosi as well. They should get reparations, but not the slavery descendants. If you even say slavery, they lose their mind. If you even say reparations regarding enslavement, they lose their minds. They're trying to wipe the history of slavery out of the education system of the United States. So no one will even think about asking for reparations. But he openly is throwing the word reparations around, and no one's losing their minds. This is your periodic reminder that there are elections coming up in which the future of Donald Trump's impunity is on the line. On August 4th, primaries in Kansas, Virginia, Washington State, but really the ones we're paying attention to are Missouri and Michigan. In Missouri, Cori Bush is attempting to overthrow the AIPAC candidate Wesley Bell and get back her seat in Missouri's 1st district. The reason this is important is that if she were to win this primary, whoever wins the primary will win the election. It's a very Democratic seat. It won't flip a seat, but it would flip a seat out of AIPAC's hands. And let's keep in mind, this organization is throwing crazy money at trying to keep the status quo when it comes to taking your money instead of paying for bridges and roads and health care for you and making sure that we can still have Head Start and Meals on Wheels. They want to send that money to Israel. And Cori Bush is attempting to get her seat back so she can continue to fight for that. Over her winning, it would not just be great for her, for her to have a job in Congress, but that's not why this is important. It's not important for her. It's not important for Cori Bush. It's important to send a message to AIPAC that they can't decide elections. If you could put it up just one more time, my friend Jason Reid. The other one is this race in Michigan. And I would argue that this might be the most important Senate race, Senate primary in the country. And this is Abdul El-Sayed, Dr. Abdul El-Sayed. If he was to beat Haley Stevens in this election tomorrow night, it will send the biggest possible message. We started this show with Zohran Mamdani. But Zohran Mamdani was the first indication of a progressive movement that is bigger than him. When it happened in New York City, the Democratic establishment got mad about it, but they were hoping to quarantine it in New York City. But then it happened in Washington, D.C. A DSA candidate won the mayor. Then it happened in Colorado, where the Denver mayor also, won as it was a DSA candidate. It's happening all over the country. It's happening in the West. It's happening everywhere. And then, of course, Mamdani put up, supported 3 congressional candidates, and all 3 of them won, beating incumbents or the incumbent's choice. So this thing is bigger than New York City. And the biggest possible win for the progressive wing of the party, which, by the way, is not just a white progressive wing or just a Southeast Asian or Arab American progressive wing. It's also a Black progressive wing. The DSA candidate who won in Washington, D.C. is Black. It's a Black woman. Her name is Janice. That's how Black she is. She's so Black, her name is Janice. So this is, and Ms. and Hong, yes. And also, of course, right, Francesca Hong. If Francesca Hong were to be the gubernatorial nominee, yes, she's the other one. That's a huge, in Wisconsin. Big, huge race. If these wins happen in the Midwest, in Wisconsin and in Michigan, it can no longer be deemed a New York fringe phenomenon. It's now not just Mamdani's stand in New York, it's Mamdani's stand everywhere. And Abdul El-Sayed, who's a physician, who is running to say, I'm going to claw back the money. I'm going to vote to claw back the money that we're sending to give Israel premium healthcare, free healthcare, which they get and we don't, and get free healthcare here. It's Mamdani's stand everywhere. So it's a big election. We're going to be doing a watch party tomorrow night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do a watch party so that you can sit up with us and watch these elections and watch these returns come in. This election is huge. This might be the biggest election of the season coming up tomorrow night. We are going to have a watch party for it. We're going to be doing watch parties for all the big races. We're going to do one for Florida too, because Florida's a hot smoking mess. We're going to do that as well. So I want to invite you all to come hang out with us tomorrow night, a bonus The Joy Reid Show watch party. We're going to have some of your favorites. We're going to recruit Waj. We love to have a Waj moment. We're going to see. We're going to sit. We're going to get Waj to come. We're going to get some of our friends to come. And we're going to sit and we're going to watch this race and see how it goes. All right. So I want to let you guys know that. I want to also note that this hour of the Joy Reid Show is brought to you by our friends at Wild Alaskan Company. And by the way, it's not just eating your snacks like your Mosh bars. It's also what you're eating for actual dinner. It matters what you're eating for actual dinner. But also, if you're like me, you don't have a lot of time and you're not really a food prep person. I'm like a democracy prep person, not a food prep person. And so Wild Alaskan is a really, really, really great solution to both eating well, eating right, eating fresh, eating good whole foods, right? Food that's from the earth, and not processed, but also having convenience. And Wild Alaskan Company offers the best way to get wild-caught, high-quality seafood that you don't have to run to the store and get because it's delivered right to your door on your schedule. And I do love a good delivery. Each Wild Alaskan box comes with individually proportioned fillets, vacuum sealed, easy to prep for any great meal, no matter how quick or elevated. You can grab it. You can literally meal prep an individual meal for yourself or a meal for your whole family. They're quick frozen, fresh from the Alaskan waters, which helps lock in the freshness, the texture, the flavor, and key nutrients like omega-3s. It's fish you can trust, 0 GMOs, no antibiotics, no additives. Every order supports sustainable harvesting practices and Alaskan fishermen whose history is tied to the practice. And so we started getting Wild Alaskan because we're always trying to rush to get dinner after the show. We don't have a ton of time. And so we want to prepare something that's delicious and quick. And the snapper, to me, number one thing. I'm a snapper girl, love it. I went from being a salmon girl to a snapper girl, but they're going to give it to you individually wrapped, and you can go ahead and quick make it, and it's delicious and it's fabulous. They also have a money back guarantee. They're so confident the fish is the best. They give you a 100% satisfaction and money back guarantee, so you can try your first box risk-free. If you want to try it, go to wildalaskan.com/joy for $35 off your first order on premium wild-caught seafood. That is wildalaskan.com/joy for $35 off your first order. So let's talk about the Nolan Wells case. We're going to give you our Nolan Wells update. Now, last week, I happened upon yet another version of the audio from this boat. This has become the real question and the real sort of hinge point of the question of what happened to the 18-year-old boy, Nolan Wells. He's a child, an 18-year-old. And whether or not he actually left with his friends or stayed on the island alone, apparently with none of the boats that brought him in, taking him back, and what happened to him and how he wound up turning up dead. This audio that I'm going to play for you, was obtained by a young man named Elliott Connie. And Elliott Connie, he's actually a psychotherapist and an author and a podcaster who hosts a popular YouTube channel called Elliott Connie Speaks. And someone allegedly sent him this audio track that they cleaned up. And I'm going to have him explain why, how they did it. But before I bring him on and let him explain how he got this audio, I'm going to play it. Now, let me caveat that I made one alteration to this clip, which is that I did not use the words on the screen that Elliott Connie included in his clip. So this is the audio from Elliott Connie's post, but not the visual. And the reason I did that is that I didn't want to prejudice those of you who are listening. We had Garrett Hayes on last week, and he said, look, he didn't want to be prejudiced by reading it and listening to it at the same time. He just wanted to hear it and then just hear what he hears and not be influenced by the words. So I agree with that. So we're going to play it for you. Note that the video on top is some very viral video that purports to show Nolan Wells standing on the boat at some point during the July 4th celebration. Okay, so here's the video. It is D1, Jason. Let her rip.
Of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles? Hello?
Hey.
Yes. How far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just thinking. I don't know. Like we're going down.
Now, people who have watched that video, and there's a lengthier video that Elliott Connie did, have said that they can hear, is he freaking dead? Is he freaking dead? And some other pretty sort of alarming things. But let me bring in Elliott Connie. He's a psychotherapist, author, podcaster, and founder of the world's largest SBT training organization for mental health professionals. He hosts, again, a very popular YouTube channel called Elliott Connie Speaks. Hello, Elliott. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. What do you hear when you hear that video?
So I was having some sound issues, so they moved me out of the room. So I don't know what video you played.
I'm going to play it again. This is your video. This is actually from your channel. And I took off the words because I wanted the audience to be able to hear it without reading it. Because sometimes I think if you read it, you hear it in your brain. You're a psychotherapist, so you know that it can influence your mind.
100%.
So I just wanted people to hear it and the video over it. That I just want to let you know that I did edit your video simply by adding some very viral video of Nolan Wells allegedly on the boat earlier in the day. So other than that,
Gotcha.
it's your video. So I want to disclose that to you before I played it again. All right, here it is. D1 again, Jason, please.
Of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles? Hello?
Hey.
Yes. How far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just thinking. I don't know. Like we're going down.
Because you did put titles on it. What did you hear?
Well, I didn't put the titles on it. The person who edited the video, and I'm happy to share how I got the video, sent it to me with the titles on it.
Gotcha.
And I heard them say Nolan. I heard them say wake up or get up or some form of that. But the most chilling part is hearing the breathing. Hearing what I could only describe as like labored breathing. Now, of course, I have no idea what was happening on there, but it sounded to me like labored breathing. And to be honest with you, it was disturbing when I heard it.
It sounds like a gasp or a cough or something like that, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that it didn't sound it didn't sound congruent to like everybody else being like, you know, perfectly fine, sound and healthy on the boat. And when you like line that up with the 911 answerer saying like, is everybody okay on the boat, or is everybody like healthy on the boat, it was just really chilling and kind of rocked me, to be honest.
Talk about how you got the clip, because that was a fascinating story. Because allegedly the person who sent it to you tried to send it to Ben Crump.
Yeah, so I got a DM. You know, I created, I mean, this is kind of a longer story, and I'm sure you guys don't want to hear the super long story, but I started this, I decided that as a psychotherapist, I wanted to make a bigger impact than just working with clients, which, by the way, I still do. And I wanted to have a very overt conversation about mental health. I think like racism is actually a component of mental health and all the things going on. So I start talking about this, and through that process, Nolan Wells goes missing and then ends up getting found deceased. So I start just talking about the case from that perspective, and the videos start going viral, and people started watching my videos. And then I got a DM from somebody who said there's an enhanced audio that's circulating. Somebody else enhanced it, but I've enhanced this audio more. And he said, I don't have a platform. I don't know anybody. And I don't want anyone to know that it's me. Like, I don't want to be subjected to death threats and violence. So would you mind sharing it? And I said, well, first, I have to know that you are real. I have to know that you are authentic. I have to know that this is real. I spent about an hour on the phone with this person, verifying who he was, verifying his employment. It turns out he is a professional audio engineer. And I had him walk me all the way through how he did it. I said, I don't want to be subject to attack either. So I want you to tell me exactly how you use your skills to do this. And I got to the point where I believed him. So I released the video. I released the audio, excuse me. And I don't know, man, just hearing the labored breathing on that boat. I have yet to hear an explanation from anybody that that in a very clear and innocent way explains how some of that audio took place on that boat. So I've been thinking a lot about this case, Elliott, and you know, you as a psychotherapist know that there is sort of a psychology to panic. And as somebody who is you know, not a big fond of being on deep water, if you're in 30 feet of water, and those boats are really small, like there is, Jason, can you show D3? Officer Tatum, who is obviously trying to help the white friends, he released that video, which he purports to show the kids on Wyatt's boat. Wyatt is one of the three of the friends that had boats, and that is his grandfather's boat. That's how small the boat is. Yeah.
To me, I think that Officer Tatum thinks that this video helped because it obviously doesn't show Nolan on the boat.
Right.
But what it also doesn't show is if that boat is in 30 feet of water, wouldn't the person calling the sea tow company be more panicked? If you think that little boat is going to go to the bottom of a 30-foot draft of water, I would think they would have sounded more panicked, right?
I would think so. I mean, the whole presentation of these boys lacks all emotion, including panic, including fear. Like when I hear that call, if I'm on a boat of any water, regardless of how comfortable I am on water, if I genuinely believe my boat is sinking, you would hear some level of like excitedness. There's no possible way that I, like speaking clinically, that I can understand that I will be standing on a boat that I actually believe is sinking and not have adrenaline rush through my body. And we should be able to detect the adrenaline in his speech, his pace, something. The 911 officer, the person who answers the call,
it's not even 911. Yeah, we're gonna get that in a minute. The sea tow.
Yeah, the sea tow people asked how high is the water, and he couldn't answer that. And if I were sinking, I'd be like, it's up to my knees. You know, hurry. She says, do you need Coast Guard? And he's like, no. And it's like, it's hard for me to believe that person actually thought the boat was sinking in that moment. Now, does that mean I know what actually happened? Of course not. But it's just incongruent to normal human behavior when you're in a situation where my boat could literally sink to the bottom. Even if you're not afraid of the actual water, like even if you're the world's greatest swimmer and you have been on boats your entire life and you're like, I'm perfect comfortable in this situation, you should at least be feeling bad and scared of what your grandpa's response will be if you go home without his boat, like if your boat sinks. So the fact that it was just like a totally calm, like devoid of any kind of stressors that we would be able to listen for, it was just odd.
And just if you put it back up one more time, because the other things that I noticed in this video that Officer Tatum put out, really again to exonerate these teenagers.
How far?
Not that one. Sorry, Jason. D3 is that in the videos that you've seen of the boys when they were on Horn Island, they're surrounded by other boats. There's lots and lots of people. There are people in the water, standing in waist deep water. Here, they're alone. There's no, I mean, I don't know who's taking this video, but I'm assuming it's the person on the neighboring boat. You can see a shadow of another boat, and I presume that's Bart's boat. There's another friend named Bart, who's the 21-year-old football player who played football at some point with Nolan, who's really the only 21. I'm just assuming that's him shooting it or someone else, but there's nobody else there. So if you're really allegedly sinking, the only rescue is whoever's taking that video. Whoever's taking that video is the only other person around you. And the other piece of it is who they called. When the boat began to sink, if I'm in 30 feet of water and I'm alone, there's no other boats except this one other boat, I think I'm calling the Coast Guard, not my grandpa. But it appears the first person they called was not Cito. It was the grandfather. Let's play D2 if we could, Jason.
This is Captain Seth.
Hi, Captain Seth. This is Vicky from International. How you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, good. I apologize ahead of time. I really do. You're going to have a fee for service come up under...
okay.
It sounds like a bunch of kids on board on Horn Island. He's letting me know that his father's a member, but he can't give me any information. And he's saying the boat is sinking. And he's on Horn Island. It's just unfortunate. He's just a kid. There's a lot going on. So he said there's about a lot of people on board. He says he thinks about 7. I'm guessing they're all under 18. And I'm not trying to be rude. He wants you guys to go out there and unpump the boat and then tow it in.
Do you know what kind of boat it is?
He said a Triton 24-footer, but that's all he can give me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just actually got off the phone with his grandpa, who I'm guessing is the owner of the boat. And he said, I just hung up with him. He said that they don't need any help right now, but if something changes, he'll call me back. So I'm guessing that they may have figured it out, because that's what he said. So they're in a panic and their boat won't crank.
Yeah, they're in a panic. He's saying the bilge is not keeping up. I asked for Coast Guard. He said no, but he's just really upset on the back end. And, I get it. It's a kid. He just doesn't understand.
Oh, okay. Do you still have him on the line?
Yes, I still have him on the line. And again, I couldn't find, he couldn't give me anything regarding his grandfather's, membership. So it's just under fee for service.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just talked to, if you want to, we're so tied up right now. We can't really do any non-member jobs right now.
Is he a member? Did you find out if he was a member or not?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if it's his boat or what. I'm not sure what's going on with it. But yeah, transfer the kid over. I'll talk to him, and then I'll call his grandpa back as well.
So Elliott, 2 things. Thing one, it is clear that the first call that Wyatt, who I think is the person speaking, made was to his grandfather, not to Cito. That's number one. Mm-hmm. And they seem to have resolved it. So if it's resolved, there doesn't seem to be a reason then to call Cito. If they're saying they don't need a tow, they don't need any problem, they don't have a problem anymore, now they're like, everything is fine. So by the time the lady gets to speak with Jerry, Captain Jerry, who's supposed to be helping them, he's already found out that there isn't a problem, that they're not sinking, that there's no reason for them to be panicking. So that's weird, right?
Very.
And I find that strange because it seems like this situation was resolved. So then why are you calling Cito if your grandfather and you've already determined that you don't need help? And then the other piece of it is, Jerry, if there are a bunch of children on a sinking boat in 30 feet of water, Jerry didn't sound that worried either.
No.
If there's a lot of chop out there, if it's a dangerous day on the water, if the water is, something that could cause 7 kids to drown,
Yes.
Jerry seemed like, I don't have time if they're not a client.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it just doesn't, it does not add up. I don't understand it, to be honest.
Do you think that Vicky, the lady who is the Cito operator, who was trying to navigate, and we got some folks, I have people in the Twitch chat here saying, where are the life jackets? It's a good point. No life jackets either, but they're teenagers. They probably don't wear life jackets. But if you think you're going to go down, and we don't know what the timeline is of when this is, Brandon is attempting to make it sound like this was around the time they're making the call. But yeah, there's no life jackets. It didn't look like there was a lot of chop. It looked very calm seas. So a lot of it is weird. But Vicky's sort of walking through it. What do you make of her? Because she seemed to be frustrated, but did she seem like she felt like she was dealing with a dangerous situation?
I think Vicky was the one who was the most elevated in that whole situation. I think Vicky is the one who, like, if you were asking me, I think Vicky feels confused. Like, I just got a panicked call about this boat that is sinking. And also, hypothetically, let's imagine that Vicky heard the deep breaths. And let's imagine that Vicky heard some of that stuff that was going on in the background that has now been enhanced in the audio. Vicky now calls Jerry and is like, there's an emergent situation here, and experiences Jerry as, no, it's all settled. So to me, Vicky sounds kind of confused and just kind of thrown off by it, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is strange, right? She seems to be the only person that is genuinely alarmed and genuinely concerned.
Yeah. And look, water people have drowned in a bathtub. So 30 feet of water with open ocean currents and all of those things. And all she heard was, that we know she heard for sure, was these kids saying, we are sinking and we need help right now. And now she's trying to round up that help, and she's being told, I've already talked to the owner of the boat and they've got it all sorted. And she's like, but I just got off. I'm still on the line with them.
And by the way, she wasn't, because when she then went back to Wyatt, they'd hung up.
Right.
So whatever they were concerned about, weren't concerned about it enough to stay on the line and get help. And ultimately, according to Warren, who is the first friend that Officer Tatum interviewed, ultimately, it was their friend Bart, who I'm assuming must be the person on that other boat. That is who towed them in. They got towed in by Bart, but then the boat kind of went a few other places before.
Immediately, the boat went to several other places, different points in the area immediately. Like, there was no time for repairs to be done. The boat just continued boating throughout the day,
which is also strange. Last thing, TMZ has obtained an image which they purport allegedly to be an image that shows Nolan, because there's the blue shorts. His mom reported that the last thing he was wearing were blue shorts. You can see, this is before the boat would have gone and taken on water. Again, you can see the small size of the boat. And there have been a lot of contradictory statements about that as well. The last thing that Warren says he heard was, last time he saw Nolan was at about 3 p.m. when his buddy, he says, he didn't say who it was ordering Nolan to get on the freaking boat. And he says that Nolan said he wanted to stay with a girl named Katie. But Katie has now not only spoken with the mom, Mrs. Wansley, Christine Wansley, and said that's not true. Her sister has come out with a statement. She talked to the Daily Mail. Everybody's talking about the tabloids, and said that her sister did not stay with Nolan, had no intention of staying there with Nolan, and that the last time she saw Nolan, she thought he was getting on the boat.
Going back to the boat, yeah.
And we don't know we don't know what happened, but if something theoretically happened and he did get on the boat, could a panic response explain why everyone's stories don't make sense?
Yes, of course. A panicked response, I have a lot to say about this. Yes, a panicked response can make why everyone's stories don't make sense and seem kind of jagged and all over the place. But I'll tell you, for me, the biggest red flag of all of this is you see this like panicked response of like all of these different stories. But when you see these boys like being interviewed by Officer Tatum, they're very, very calm. And the single most alarming thing that I see as a psychotherapist, one of the boys, Warren, was interviewed back at the island where his supposed best friend and brother went missing. And there is no visceral reaction to being at that place. That, I cannot stress enough how unusual that is. If someone very close to you goes missing and you are one of the last known people to see him alive, and then 2 weeks later, you're back at the point at which you last saw this person super close to you, you should have a visceral reaction to that experience. You should be shaking. You should be in tears. You should be saying, I don't want to be here. I'm uncomfortable being here. Something. But he was perfectly comfortable in that video talking to Officer Tatum about a boat. Like he was just like, oh, our boat this, our boat that. When I saw that, I was like, this is really odd that you're standing at the place. And I'm not saying maybe he didn't do anything. Maybe he's completely innocent and like whatever. But you're at the very least, you're standing in the last place you saw your brother and best friend alive, and you're asking me to believe that you have no emotional or visual response to that. I cannot stress how odd that is. Yeah. And for me in this entire thing, like that is the biggest red flag because most people could not do that.
And last question before I let you go, Elliott. This is my one semester of being a psychology major at Harvard, one whole semester. The other thing that I found very odd is that when Warren gave his interview, and it was very similar when the other young man, Dreisen, who is the mixed young black and white young man, they led with, tell me something about Nolan. And Warren led with, I've never seen him get in a fight with anybody, and I've never been in a fight with him. I've never fought with him. I've never argued with him, which is a weird way to start. If you ask me about my friends, I would, and if my friend had passed, God forbid, I would never say my first thing saying, well, I've never seen them in a fight and I've never been in a fight with them. It just struck me as a weird thing to say.
It's a very weird thing to say because again, like I miss my friend. I haven't seen my friend in 2 weeks. My friend was deceased. I was one of the last known people with my friend, which by the way, I shouldn't experience being questioned as being targeted if I actively know I'm one of the last known people to see this friend alive. So when someone asks me about my friend, I should witness some level of emotion or some visceral response to that question. But number two, I should be like, man, that was just a loving soul. I can't believe he's missing and I miss him so much. He starts by, like, in essence, setting up an alibi in a weird way. And yeah, that's incredibly strange.
Go on, please.
I think that interview was so journalistically poor. Yeah. It made the boys look even worse because the interviewer, and look, I'm talking to one of the best journalists ever, so like, pardon me for explaining something to you but I'm actually talking to your audience through you. But the interviewer, especially in a situation like this, the objective is to get to the truth. This interviewer, the objective was to get their story out. He asked absolutely zero challenging questions.
Yeah.
He asked absolutely zero.
You're absolutely right. And not that, but at the end of the Dreisen spent 5 minutes praising Dreisen for his bravery and saying, if you end it with, I got your. We're going to let it cook. There it goes. There it goes. The one question that I can tell you all that was never asked by, I don't even want to call the former police officer, Officer Tatum, the former police officer, you'd think he would have asked. The question I was waiting for, and I watched all 4 of the interviews with Warren, I watched all the interviews with Dreisen, I watched all these interviews. He never asked him, when you started asking, has anybody seen Nolan? Did it not occur to you that you couldn't have, has anybody heard from Nolan? Did it not occur to you that you couldn't have heard from Nolan because you had his phone?
That's right. That's right. How
would you have heard from him?
Can I tell you the one question that I couldn't believe he didn't ask? Because I was like you, I watched all these interviews and he asked both boys, and particularly Warren, did you or any of your friends do anything to cause the death of Warren? The boy said no. Now, what he didn't ask, and he had a journalistic obligation to ask, because he is talking to the people that were on the island with Nolan on the last moments of his life, he did not say, so what do you think happened?
That's right.
And he needed to ask that question. Like, as someone interested in the truth, and at the end of the day, Nolan's parents deserve the truth. He did not ask any truth-seeking questions, and he had a responsibility to say, he could have even like handed it to them. I'm not saying you did anything wrong. I'm not accusing you of anything, but you are among the people that were with this young boy in the last moments of his life. What do you hypothesize happened? He didn't ask that question, so those kids were not made uncomfortable. And there is no possible way. Look, I'm a psychotherapist. I interview people for a living.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be uncomfortable during certain kinds of interviews, and those kids were perfectly fine. Perfectly
comfortable, and never ask things like, how would he have stayed with Katie and gotten her number if he didn't have his phone?
Right.
Why would you ever stay behind without your phone, where you cannot contact your family or friends to get home? How did you expect him to get home? What friends did he stay with? Did you know them? Like, there are plenty of questions I would love to ask. If any of them would like to come on this show, I'm happy to ask. But those are the questions I want to know. Why have you ever stayed behind on an island without your phone? Since we know now, thanks to Nancy Grace, they did have phone reception. Didn't you think he might have needed his phone? When you said to him, when your friend, your buddy said, get the F on the boat, why wouldn't you say, and take your phone?
That's right.
So that you can get home. If you're ordering him to get on the boat and you know you have his phone, why didn't you think to give him his phone so that he could have found his way home? Like, there were so many questions that didn't get asked. But anyway, we could go on forever. Elliott Connie, I'm going to have you back. You're great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody, please follow Elliott Connie. We're going to put the link below in the description so you guys can follow him. He's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. I want to note for you guys also before we go, there's a fake toxicology report circulating online. It is not real. If you see this fake toxicology report that's reported to be a legitimate report of toxicology of Nolan Wells, not real. I don't trust a lot of Mississippi authorities say, but I do. Let's do one more wonderful ad break. The Joy Reid Show is brought to you by our friends at Forkful. Now, eating well can be very difficult when life gets busy. Finding time for meal planning or cooking, horrible challenge. Most meal kits promise convenience, but require too much prep, too much cleanup. Meal service often uses industrial seed oils that can be really harmful to your body, and takeout and processed food is a no-no. It sacrifices quality, ingredients, and taste, and it ain't good for you. What you want are meals that prioritize flavor, function, and health. No seed oils, chef-cooked, fresh, not frozen, ready-to-eat meals made with high-quality premium proteins, grass-fed bison, wild-caught salmon, fresh vegetables, whatever you want to eat. Delicious meals that fit your lifestyle, your meal preferences, even if you are gluten-free, if you're dairy-free, if you're keto, if you're plant-based, GLP-1, low-carb, whichever your meal sort of eating style is, they've got it. Eating well does not need to be complicated, y'all. Does not need to be. With fully prepared, deliciously healthy meals, no meal prep, no cooking, no cleanup, just clean flavors and ready in under 3 minutes, which is the part I love the best. And so if you are trying to get yourself together, trying to eat well, and you're trying to eat well, but eat fast and not have to worry about it, try some of their amazing things. Creamy spinach and asparagus meals, filet mignon if you're a meat eater, truffle mac and cheese, you got to try that as well. Whatever you want, they've got it. Compare and essentially you can sort of compare and contrast, like look online, see what you want to eat, get your favorites, explore all the plans and menu of fresh, ready-to-eat meals at forkfulmeals.com. Use the code JOY, J-O-Y, to get 50% off your first order. That is forkfulmeals.com/joy. Use the promo code JOY for 50% off. Thank you, Forkful, for sponsoring this episode. Okay, so on July 29, 2008, the U.S. House of Representatives passed H.R. 194, apologizing for slavery and Jim Crow laws that and the Jim Crow laws that followed. That was in 2008. That was just before President Obama was elected. But the apology came with a catch. It included a disclaimer clause stating that nothing in the resolution could be used to support any claim for reparations or legal redress. Apparently, they left out Donald Trump from that. No reparations for slavery, right? So they passed the apology, but no reparations. That contradiction still stands. In H.R. 40, the bill that would study and develop the reparations remedies potentially alongside other reparative policies, is still waiting for a floor vote. This is the backdrop for Black August, which begins this week. Black August didn't start as a commemorative month or a hashtag. It started in 1979 inside of California prisons, where incarcerated organizers fasted, studied, and trained to honor comrades like George Jackson, who was killed by San Quentin guards in 1971, as well as to reckon with what state violence does to Black people who are fighting for liberation. It's a month of memory and a demand for the freedom of Black political prisoners still held decades later, and for the repair that has never come. The Why We Can't Wait Reparations Network convened a media briefing on July 29th to discuss the current state of reparations legislation, organizing efforts ahead of Black August and the narrative fight ahead, including how Black August's history of resistance and its unfinished business, repairing the harm done to political prisoners, connects directly to the broader reparations movement. And joining me now is Dreisen Heath, a leading reparations expert, movement strategist, and human rights advocate who's working on behalf of descendant communities impacted by settler colonialism, enslavement, and anti-Black racism. Dreisen, welcome.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we know that when you guys held this press event, you were there with one of our favorites, Representative Ayanna Pressley. We have a picture there. There you are with Representative Pressley. And then there's a sort of big group pic there. Talk about this convening and what was the purpose?
Absolutely. So, you know, marking this House apology is incredibly important, especially as we're facing a tsunami of harm on Black communities, right? You referenced 2008 being right before President Obama was elected. The House apology didn't have the disclaimer clause, but the Senate apology that followed in 2009 did, right? So the House unanimously passes this under Steve Cohen's leadership. And then the Senate, about 11 months later, says, let's walk this back. We will document some of the harm, not even all of the harm, but we're also going to say, you know, you cannot legally pursue any claims as a result of that. And that's not a formal apology. That's not a real apology. Apologies in international law and domestic law, formal apologies are supposed to then lead to material reparations in all the forms necessary. So this is the unfinished business of Congress, right? You know, we've been working closely, Why We Can't Wait Reparations Network, with our congressional champions on reparations. They do exist in the caucus, and under the leadership of Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, carrying HR 40, the third generation of a CBC member carrying this bill, right? We have so much, you know, both possibility and also trauma as it relates to this bill. You know, our original holders of this bill, the late John Conyers, the late Sheila Jackson Lee, have died carrying this bill. It is now the oldest held bill that the CBC has after the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act passed. And so not only is HR 40 ripe for passing, right? And we can really we need a real public postmortem on why it did not get a floor vote in 2021 and 2022 when it had enough votes. And instead, votes were unanimously whipped in a matter of 2.5 days to pass Juneteenth holiday. You know, shout out to, you know, Sister Opal Lee and her advocacy. And also we know that federal holidays have been historically used to crush movements, as we've seen with the Labor Day holiday and other holidays. And so we had enough votes then.
Wait, hold on a second. Now, you're not triggering my journalistic interest here. Are you saying that the Juneteenth bill and the passage of Juneteenth was meant essentially to shut down HR 40 and the reparations bill by offering a palliative instead?
I'm saying that we had 218 votes to pass HR 40 on the floor, including having the support of several Republicans. And when that leadership turns to Black leadership, as you know, as a veteran on the Hill, you know, policy decisions on Black issues are normally held by Black leaders in Congress to make that final say. At the time, you know, let's bring it back to 2020, DNC puts reparations in their platform for the first time during the presidential cycle. January 2021, you had the runoffs of John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. in that conversation, it was also, we have to pause on HR 40's progress because that might affect the impact of these runoffs. And, you know, if you're trying to get the majority of Black voters to show up in Georgia, you know, you better act on reparations. So that, I think, is a miscalculation continuously, that there's a appeal to white moderates versus the Black base. And obviously we are seeing that, you know, continually challenged and playing out now. We had key meetings, you know, in those congressional sessions, the 116th, the 117th, including conversations with the Biden administration on an executive order. So we can't, if we're moving forward with progress, you know, we cannot have these gatekeepers within, you know, if we can't have Black leadership pushing Black issues, but also pushing the people's issues, right? Reparations for Black people is also about the whole country remedying its harms, right? And remedying the impacts. Everybody's pockets are literally impacted by anti-Black discrimination and the continued harm against Black people. Exploitation is costing us. You know, Citigroup did a study around the GDP has lost $16 trillion just in 2 decades around anti-Black discrimination in housing, business entrepreneurship, and other areas. And so this is literally costing us. Every time a police kills a Black person, your taxpayer dollars are paying for that settlement, right? So why not pay for repair? So all of these roadblocks have the potential of coming up again in this next Congress if there's an opportunity potentially to advance this through. Also, HR 40 is not the only reparations bill in Congress now. We have a full reparative justice agenda. We have direct compensation bills to the last living Tulsa survivors. We have victims' compensation and veterans benefits under the GI Restoration Act. There are resolutions that will be significant to pass around protecting Black cultural institutions and other preservation methods that we so desperately need in this moment and beyond. And so, yeah, the public needs to understand that there have been clear opportunities to advance this forward, and yet we have not done so at the federal level.
That is fascinating. You also have the precedent now of the president of the United States, one Donald John Trump, putting reparations on the table for January 6th insurrectionists and using the word reparations quite freely inside of the Oval Office. And so one thinks that now that it is okay to use the R word when it comes to Donald Trump, his taxes, and his goon squad from January 6th, 2021. That means it's a kind of open season. You have an installation called We Kept Receipts. It's an installation in Brooklyn. Talk about that.
Yeah, so on Reclamation Day, hosted by the Black Liberation Indigenous Sovereignty Collective, Bliss Collective, that followed Juneteenth. You know, again, we have a federal holiday on Juneteenth, but most advocates in this work are working on Juneteenth, you know, not even our feet up. So the next day was also Reclamation Day, a time to reclaim what's ours. And sometimes you have to break down the, you know, minutia and nitty gritty of the policy battle, right? And break it down to a real concept that people can understand. So when people hear reparations, you know, you're automatically thinking about the payment. You know, give me the payment, but also repair the psychological harm, repair the legal harm, repair the structural harm. And so we had an opportunity to talk about the harms that New York State has committed on Black Americans, as the New York State Commission has extended its task force's work a couple more years. We were also focused on New York City harms against Black Americans, right? We're talking about roughly 3.5 million Black residents, the second largest, you know, Black population.
Have you had this conversation with Mayor Mamdani?
I have not directly, but I have heard his support in the last, several months for reparations. He signed reparations pledges. So, like, we have the, I could hear our sister, Latasha Brown say, we got the receipts, right?
Yes.
We have the receipts. Here are the items taken. Here are the cost of community. And yet here are the amount paid to the parties, zero. The balance is still outstanding. But on the other side of reparations, not only are there things that cannot be returned, right? Things that cannot be quantified. But the first image you showed was the return receipt, right? Let's collect the receipts, not just collect the harms. Let's talk about the solutions, right? As Black folks, we are always having to prove what the harm is, but we live the harm, we breathe the harm, we experience the harm. So let's start filing our reparations, right? How has it affected me and my community? What does that look like to me? And who am I filing this on behalf of? It gave people an opportunity to approach this from, a simple concept of retail, and then take that into something very reflective and meaningful. And we hope to, this is an iterative installation. This wasn't just a Brooklyn Reclamation Day thing. We'll also be doing this at Congressional Black Caucus Foundation annual conference in DC. It's a way to engage people to reparations and then connect them to the legislative fight that's active at the federal, state, county, municipal, and institutional levels.
Oh, we're gonna have you back, Dreisen Heath. I am fascinating. I'm locked in. This is so interesting. The way that you are doing it. I love the idea of keeping receipts. That second one was a Wall Street, showing the actual sort of bills of saving the amount of money that went into Wall Street due to slavery. People forget that New York had it too. Dreisen Heath, thank you so much. How do people get involved if they want to keep up with what's going on with Black August and your efforts?
Absolutely. You can reach out to email info@reparationscan'twait.org to get connected to the Why We Can't Wait Reparations Network, which is the largest organizing body and network organizing for reparations.
Dreisen Heath, thank you so much for being here. We're definitely going to have you back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. And got receipts as well. Well, y'all, interesting. We're going to have receipts also tomorrow night. That's interesting. Let us know what you guys think about that. Do hit like and subscribe if you haven't done it already. And by the way, I wanted to jump over here and look inside of the Twitch chat. Where is it? I got to find it. There was such a cute comment in Twitch chat. Oh, I have a thank you, Joy, for the watch party tomorrow about stepping out of Babylon. I'm going to have my willies on hand to celebrate Abdul's win. Jason can send me his bars as munchies. We've got also comment from Stepping Out of Babylon on Twitch. Jason, take another swig of Willie's and steal more of Joy's bars to satiate your munchie. Jason has, I feel like the Twitchies are Team Jason in the Mosh Bar theft.
The sad thing is, anyway, I'm going to leave it alone.
Don't try to lie. Don't try to make an excuse. Let me go over here to the Substack chat and see folks in the Substack chat still talking about the travesty that we were talking about with Rula Jebreal and Peter Beinart. We also have Dean Six saying Mayor Mamdani speaks the truth. Absolutely. On Substack, we got comments there. Thank you to everybody that's jumping in and giving comments. I got to figure out how to get the hold on. I can get the Facebook comments. Let me jump on here and get some Facebook comments. We got a great show from Tyrone Davis. We've got lots of people here. We've got we've got shout out to the Lemon Reader Nation. That's from us shouting at you guys. So thank you guys for having your conversations in the chat. We love it. Let's get to our moment of joy. Oh, wait a minute. What you got? Oh, what did the poll say? Oh, the poll. Okay, we had a poll. What's the poll? Tell me what the poll was. Okay, let me look. Let me see if I can see the poll. I can't see. Okay, it says, what does the poll say? What was it? I don't see the poll. Oh, who's eating the mosh bars? The poll. This is the poll of polls. You know how on like NBC News they have the poll of polls? This is the poll of polls. And I got to tell you, who keeps eating the mosh bars? Joy, 26%. How dare you all?
Oh my God.
I can't even get
26%?
one. The lies.
Oh,
lies. 26% say me. 26% say Jason. I am tied with the Mosh Bar thief.
How dare you blame me as the Mosh Bar
But can I tell you who's winning right now? The Mosh Monster.
Okay.
The Mosh Monster. So
That is
now we are
totally
alleging
you.
that there is a fairy tale creature eating the Mosh Bars, and that it is someone other than Jason Mark Anthony Reid.
Oh my God, Joanne Lomena Reid. It is you. Come on. Come on.
How dare you all? I'm the one who's being deprived. I'm being starved to death. I'm being starved of snacks. And people are saying I did it. Jason definitely did it. And you all know in your heart and in your soul that he did. The Mosh Monster isn't real. My Auntie Poppy running over here trying to give Jason. Don't go in there and give him support. We've got people in here trying to support Jason in my hour of need. This is about me.
Because you know why they're here supporting me? Because we know. You see the fingers pointing at, do that again, Winston. Point the fingers on the screen. That's the person who's eating
and by the way,
Mosh Bars,
I actually think I've just figured it out.
That is the person right there.
You know who the Mosh Monster is?
You.
Winsome.
Joy.
The Mosh Monster.
Between
the ghost.
you and
It
Winsome.
could have been the ghost.
No, it's you and Winsome.
Could've
It's
been the
not
ghost.
Jason at all.
Mosh Monster for the win.
Thank you. Who just gave me some
Snack
spread?
reparations,
There
says
you
Amy
go.
of Womack.
That's not me.
Snack
Thank you.
reparations.
And for the record, everybody, I'm going to say one more time. I, to this day, have never tasted the Mosh Bar because the woman in blue on stage and her daughter eats them all up.
My only friend.
Thank you very much. And as Russell Simmons was saying,
stepping out of Babylon, who's clearly from Jam Down, Jamaican, says, excellent show today, Joy. Thief Moshman Jason et al. Thief Moshman Jason et al. Says the Jamaican man pan.
My brother, no bother with the foolishness that on the ear star. Me never touch our Mars bar, yeah, sir. So go about your business.
They turned him Jamaican. You think I've turned it Japanese? You think I've turned it Japanese? I really think so. He's turning Jamaican on us because he's full of Mosh Bars and it's giving him energy. Is the Mosh Monster Nala? It might be Nala. Oh my God, they're all eating them. All right, let's get to the moment of don't blame. I said, don't blame Nala, says BB girl. You're right, don't blame Nala. Leave Nala alone. Nala didn't do y'all nothing. Y'all so mean. All right, let's get this moment of joy. This moment of joy is really great. This moment of joy is brilliant. The person who made it, and normally whenever we find something on social media, they said the poll is part of, yes, the poll is part of the moment of joy. This one is made by somebody called Jason Moore 1666. And let me tell you something. Some of these creators on social media deserve Emmys for their content. Emmys. I'm sorry I'm sweaty because I had a hot flash earlier. That's I'm sorry.
No, that's just food hunger from the Mosh Bars.
I'm starving from my lack of Mosh Bars. I need to see if Wild Alaskan can make Mosh Bars on the side. Maybe they could ship me some on the side in a Wild Alaskan box.
Yeah,
so nobody
you
can
probably
tell.
like the fish Mosh Bar taste, right? Since you
No, because I don't even know what they taste like. They won't let me eat any. Okay, I'm gonna hide this one. This one right here. Y'all look, the witnesses are gonna see. This one is a lemon white chocolate crunch.
You better eat it now before Winston gets it.
As soon as I take my Invisalign out, this is going down. No one's getting this. If y'all see anybody with lemon crumbs on their face, you know that what they did. This
Lady,
is mine.
let's get to this moment of joy.
The moment of joy is by Jason Moore 1666. He should get an Emmy on TikTok or a TikTok Emmy. What for this? Go play it.
I am the great and formerly powerful Mitch. I'm fine, totally fine. I'm as healthy as a horse of many colors. Now, why are you disturbing me?
I'm here for a brain. A worm ate mine.
Silence, you fool. Who's next? Step forward.
I need a heart. I'm told there's standard equipment.
We're fresh out of those. Next.
I'm just here for some courage. Any amount.
Give me a break, Mike.
I'm here for what we all want. Proof of life or any sign of brain activity.
I already provided that. If you really want me to emerge in public, bring me the Epstein files.
Enough with the Epstein files.
Now go. Scott Jennings is on hold. and I promised him a 20-minute substitute call.
No, Toto, no! Toto, no! No, Toto!
Pay no attention to the men behind the curtain. Those are just my emotional support Republicans. Good boys.
See? I just spoke with him. Sharp as ever.
Yeah, him downstairs. Him downstairs, y'all. Him downstairs. That is excellent. That was so brilliant. My friend Sharon G. Big ups to Sharon G for sending me that. She's Shar G. If you follow her on Threads or on Blue Sky, she found it. It said, "I'm dead." You know, maybe so is Mitch. my big said, he said, "I'm dead." Max B. You might not be alone. Thank you all for watching the Joy Reid Show. Be sure to glitchy Mitchy, him downstairs. We will see you guys tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to do a watch party for these
Watch party tomorrow.
very important elections. We are all eyes on Michigan and Missouri. Cori Bush's race and Abdul El Sayed. If you have not voted, I think you might be out of time. I think early voting might is over, but you can go in and vote tomorrow. I think early voting might be done today, but you can go in if you have not voted. Go and line up tomorrow.
Voted tonight, get online tomorrow.
Vote.
Guys.
Please vote. And if you have
Let's
an absentee
change
ballot,
this Congress.
and if you have an absentee ballot and you're in Missouri or Michigan or any of the other states, do not mail it in. Go and take it in if at all possible. Drop it off at an election, at one of your election polling places. It's just to guarantee it gets counted. If you have not mailed it in yet and you've been procrastinating, just take it in at this point. Okay. Thank you all for watching. See you guys tomorrow night on the Joy Reid Show. Bonus episode, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you and see you. Good night. Glitchy Mitchy, the wonderful Wizard of War.
Getting back to the basics, grassroots level. Let me dig a little deeper with the shovel. Plenty can't tell the forest from the trees, and I'm hard to detect, like a black hole in the dark. Injustice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. Let me make this clear, I got a bone to pick, and I'll never fear the threat of poverty. They don't want to talk about it, they rather party, so I'm a real talk about it, for sure.